After a fairly quiet 2021, gaming has roared back to life with a strong showing of titles in 2022. The first half of the year has been robust, with everything from console exclusives to surprise indie hits grabbing our attention. Hi folks, Mike Finnerty here, gaming editor and critic at entertainment.ie. From epic RPGs to blasting ghosts on the streets of Tokyo, we've compiled our pick for our favourite games of the year thus far, and perhaps even a hint about how our year-end top 10 is shaping up. Number 5. Ghostwire Tokyo. The best games are those that surprise, and Ghostwire Tokyo is the definition of a pleasant surprise. Coming to us from Shinji Mikami studio Tango Gameworks, Ghostwire Tokyo is a fantastic romp through the deserted streets of Tokyo. A really cool premise, where the hell has everyone gone and why are the streets of Tokyo so deserted, is enough to get you hooked, and the game adds in a devilishly addictive combat system for good measure. Ghostwire Tokyo is a great exercise in less is more, and the sparse but effective combat system matches perfectly with the vast but empty game world. There is very little like Ghostwire Tokyo on the market, and it should be remembered as one of 2022's best games. Number 4. The Quarry. A recent pleasant memory, the new game from the Until Dawn developers is the quintessential summer game. There is something about warm weather and horror that go together, and The Quarry captures this elusive feeling perfectly. Supermassive Games gave us Until Dawn in 2015, and the Masters of Horror are back in business, with yet another love letter to the horror films of the 1980s. Industry best graphics, some wonderfully nasty gore, and great scares make this a game that will live with you long after the credits roll. Or at least until you go back and do it all over again with different characters. Supermassive Games are one of the best in the business at creating labyrinthine branching plots, and The Quarry manages to match the player's decisions beat for beat. Even in the frantic back half of the game, The Quarry manages to keep up the tempo and keeps players on their toes. The Quarry isn't the most sophisticated game we played this year, but it's certainly among the most fun. Number 3. Weird West. Every so often in gaming, a game comes along that is so brilliantly inventive and weird that it helps reinvigorate your love of gaming as an art form. Weird West is that game. Taking cues from the classic Fallout games, Weird West is a rootin' tootin' good time, true version of the Wild West as imagined by David Lynch. Lovecraftian horrors coexist alongside a Wild West, ripped straight from the works of Leone, and is one of the most unique settings for a game in recent memory. Twangy Morricone guitars coexist alongside weird and fantastical creatures, while opting for a twin-stick shooter approach adds an dash of Contra into the mix. Weird West is missing that one last tilt into true greatness, but for sheer originality and memorability, Weird West is one of our most memorable games of the year so far. If a game doesn't have the strongest gameplay in the world, it needs a strong or weird narrative to put it over the edge, and this is a good example of what a strong narrative can do to paper over the cracks. Number 2. Gran Turismo 7. To mark 25 years in the market, Gran Turismo pulled out all the stops for the big occasion. While there are justifiable criticisms to be made over the game's microtransaction and grinding mechanics, this poor business decision should not take away from the achievement from the team at Polyphonic Digital. There is a reverence and respect for the history of motorsport that makes Gran Turismo 7 a game for the history books, and a reminder that nostalgia can be effective when deployed properly. If you're on the fence about buying a PlayStation 5, there is no better display of power than Gran Turismo 7. The graphics are a sight to behold, and need to be seen to be believed. Good graphics need a good game to go along with it, however, but Gran Turismo 7 reminds us all that all these years later, the franchise is a classic for a reason. A loving tribute to the history of motorsport, Gran Turismo 7 is the ultimate racing experience. Number 1, you guessed it, Frank Stallone. No, it's Elden Ring. Even before you clicked into this video, you knew what number 1 was going to be. What is there to say about Elden Ring that has been said a million times before? Dark Souls was perhaps the most influential game of the 2010s, and Elden Ring would undoubtedly be as influential in the 2020s. Elden Ring is a miracle of gaming, and any game that lets you swap stories or tips with your friends down the pub 6 months after release is kind of beyond comparison. There is absolutely no chance in hell Elden Ring isn't our game of the year come December. Over to you, Kratos. All these months later, there is still a staggering amount of depth and replayability to Elden Ring, and the world is still begging to have secrets discovered. The From Software school of combat is as good as it's ever been. The game world is vast and unpredictable, and yes, the game will turn you into Swiss cheese at the slightest provocation. Elden Ring gives it as much as it takes away, but makes those fleeting moments of victory that much sweeter. There are very few experiences in culture like Elden Ring, and would include film and television in that. There was a mythological quality to Elden Ring, a game that feels like it'll still be talked about 100 years from now. It is truly a transformative experience, and a game that rightfully belongs in the pantheon of gaming history, alongside Tetris, Grand Theft Auto, or Super Mario Bros. Will our top 5 be the same as our top 10 come December? Check back in December to find out. And subscribe for all the latest news and notifications from this channel. Be sure to head over to entertainment.ie/gaming for more gaming news and content.